Was the most successful pitch in Dragon's Den history a genius invention, just great marketing, or plain old fraud?
My name is Giselle, I'm 31 years old and I'm from Sheffield, and my business is the ideal mix of beauty and wellness.
Do you know, I am really big into acupuncture and it is unbelievable.
I bet that's what that is.
I really hope it is.
Last week on Dragon's Den, Giselle Boxer pitched her product, Acuseeds, claiming that they helped cure her ME.
4 years ago, I was diagnosed with ME. I went from working in a top advertising agency with a busy social life and exercising regularly to being mostly housebound, unable to walk for more than 5 minutes without having to get back into bed. I went on a personal healing journey using diet, acupuncture, Chinese herbs and ear seeds. Using this combination, I believe, aided my recovery within 12 months.
The Dragons were convinced, and a first ever for the show, all 6 Dragons made an offer, with Stephen Bartlett of Diary of a CEO fame cinching the deal despite asking for a higher ownership percentage of the business.
So I'm going to offer you all of the money.
So I'm going to make you an offer.
So I am going to offer you all of the money.
To offer you all 50,000 at the 10% you've asked for.
For 15% of the business.
Since airing last week, the Dragons and the BBC have received a lot of flack from doctors, researchers and charities saying that this is completely bogus and asking why they are endorsing a snake oil salesperson.
I guess you're thinking, what's on earth are ear seeds?
There's a lot of problems in this episode, not just the snake oil, but also just pure bad investing practice.
They are tiny beads which stick onto the ear, applying pressure onto nerve endings. They send signals to the brain and body to relax the nervous system, release endorphins, and naturally relieve pain.
I care a lot about this topic. I'm a research scientist by background. Now I run a company that helps scientists turn real breakthroughs into startups, and an angel group that helps people like the Dragons invest in credible, scientifically backed breakthroughs. Let's take a look at what happened and talk about the controversy. Myalgic encephalitis, ME, or chronic fatigue syndrome, CFS, is a long-term condition with a wide range of symptoms, including extreme tiredness. Now, this is a science channel, so I'm sure many of you will have heard of Diana Cohen, physics girl, who's currently suffering with the symptoms of long COVID and ME. It is a brutal condition that can leave you housebound or even bedbound, at times unable to function due to debilitating fatigue. Some patients do see improvements in 12 to 24 months, but it can last years or even the rest of the patient's life. In short, treatment for ME would be a huge breakthrough and transform many lives. Really, the idea that the Dragons could embrace the promise without even considering the concerns is kinda mind-blowing for me.
I went on a personal healing journey using diet, acupuncture, Chinese herbs and ear seeds. Using this combination, I believe, aided my recovery within 12 months.
Now, I'm not a medical doctor, so it's not appropriate for me to comment on what could or what did help Giselle Boxer's recovery. Equally though, it's not appropriate for them to found a business based on a single data point, n=1 of themselves. And this really matters because people often seek out alternative therapies first, which may delay proper treatment. In a study by the Yale School of Medicine, researchers looked at the impact of alternative medicines on patients' likelihood of survival from cancer. They found that for people who chose alternative medicine instead of standard medicine had a significantly greater risk of death. Famous people and influencers can have a really unfair level of power over us, tapping into our most primitive traits of believing in people that we see often and respect. Our tribal brain is predisposed to believe people we hold in high esteem. Taking an anecdotal medical treatment and pairing it with the influence and visibility that the Dragons have is potentially a really dangerous combination.
And ear seeds.
Yeah.
But I don't get gold-plated ones. He just sticks little brown ones on.
Yeah, they're the kind that I had applied onto me when I had my chronic illness. And even though I could see the benefits of them, they really weren't very beautiful at all, and I was quite embarrassed to be wearing them all over my ear.
Now let's talk about ear seeds for a second. Traditionally, they are mustard or some other seed affixed to the ear on a supposed pressure point connected to health. This already seems slightly implausible to me, given that people have been poking holes in their ears for a long time without any characteristic maladies or improvements happening to their bodies as a result. The limited studies, though, that have been conducted on ear seeds typically involve so few participants and such bad scientific practice that their results can't be trusted, but none of them, regardless, have reported any effect beyond mild pain relief. On their website, Giselle Boxer states that they were diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, at the age of 26. They continue claiming that through the use of acupuncture, Chinese herbs, and ear seeds, Giselle is now fully recovered and thriving. This could and should have been a feel-good story, as a recovery for ME must have been hugely positive change to Miss Boxer's life. Sadly though, it starts to look and feel like it is starting to prey upon the hopes and dreams of people with a brutal disease just to extract a profit, and that's really where I take issue. The airing of the episode triggered an open letter for Action for ME, a charity that supports ME patients, stating, "We are very concerned in the way that the pitch was presented on Dragon's Den suggests that this product was responsible for her recovery and should therefore be considered an effective treatment." The BBC did briefly pull the episode, but they have put back a now edited version live again with this statement added. And that's bad on the BBC. As a taxpayer-funded organisation, it has responsibility not to implicitly endorse or raise the profile of products that report medical claims with zero scientific evidence, but I'm kind of even more disappointed in the dragons themselves.
Can apply some ear seeds onto you.
I know what it's like.
Have you had it done?
I've had it done. You go.
Oh, you've heard of it before.
Oh, I have ear seeds regularly.
There's clearly a general consensus here in the room of buy-in into alternative medicines that can absolutely have a time and place. If aromatherapy helps you feel better when you're anxious or have the flu, then go for it. Traditional medicines have also been proven to be useful in the past, with one example being people chewing on willow tree bark as a method of pain relief, which it turns out works because it contains salicin, the active ingredient in aspirin. However, an alternative medicine with no data behind it has no place in being sold as a cure for a complex, chronic condition. If a potential cure is studied in large, well-designed scientific trials and found to work, then fantastic, but it's no longer then alternative medicine, it's now just conventional medicine. If the dragons were interested in setting aside money for these trials, I wouldn't hold my breath for positive results from them, but at least they would have had the right idea and a lot more respect from me. We often have medicines that are used before we really understand the active mechanism of how they are working. Things like anesthesia or SSRIs, but you have to at least know that they will work and, more importantly, that they won't cause negative side effects. Otherwise you aren't in the business of creating solutions, you're in the business of duping people out of their money.
What does one of your kits retail for?
£30.
And what does it cost you to produce?
£3.
I like them sort of markups. You're talking my language in terms of the profitability.
Here I think from the dragons we see the real interest, the margin. Whether they believe the product to work or not, it's not really in their interest to find out. If the customer is happy enough and dumb enough to buy it, then that's their problem.
That's capitalism, baby.
Also, as a bit of a side note here, if your COGS, your cost of goods, are £3 and you 10x the price to hike it to £30, that feels kind of steep, and what we rightfully get annoyed at large pharmaceutical companies for doing to us. And I guess pharma companies, for their many faults, at least aren't allowed to sell drugs until they have definitively proven that they work.
Honestly, what did you put in my ear? Because I normally have 1,001 questions, and I'm just sitting here thinking I'm just making questions up now. I'm just asking you for the sake of it, because I kind of already made my mind up I'm going to make you an offer.
How about does it work? Can you prove it? Do you genuinely but mistakenly believe that this will help people, or are you deliberately being fraudulent? How much would you have wanted someone to profit off of your ME? This is going to sound rude, but this room is full of dumb money. I'm not claiming they're idiots by any means, far from that. In investing, the term for people that don't understand the problem or the solution space is dumb money. It's dangerous because it means you can't use your intelligence to interrogate what you're investing in adequately. It's the belief in the founder and the lack of diligence of the problem or the solution space that gives you companies like Theranos $724 million of investor money down the drain for a product that could never work. But if you look at the investors behind it, 0 people with biotech backgrounds. Instead, Rupert Murdoch, Betsy DeVos, Henry Kissinger, smart people, dumb money. If I'm going to be critical of them here, it appears that this ignorance might be in part semi-deliberate. They're looking at this as a marketing play.
I think I could take this product into Boots, into everywhere, easy.
So maybe Stephen similarly thinking I could feature this on Diary of a CEO. This would make a good story. Smart business practice for everything, but not things that make therapeutic claims. To be fair to them though, the absence of scientific literacy is very common in investment decisions at the moment. Most investors come from a business, a finance, maybe a marketing background, and they sensibly, typically as a result, choose to stay away from investing in things that they don't understand. And importantly, this isn't to gatekeep science investments and say these people aren't worthy. The reason I set up the investment groups that I run is because I want people investing in science because it helps people. But separating a great story from a great solution, it can be really difficult, and this is the problem that I think we're seeing here. Okay, I hate negative episodes. Let's try and say something positive.
What's your counteroffer?
12.5.
You've got a deal.
I know it's part of the show, but it's also good to see Ms. Boxer pushing back and saying negotiate on that pre-money term. I mean, it's a weird amount of money for her ultimately to be asking for. She's asking for 50k here, but she's made 30k in profit in the previous financial year. That amount of money isn't really going to move the needle that much on her business. But I think that's probably strategic because Ms. Boxer knows the real value of this opportunity is exposure, not cash. So 50k isn't too high of a price to pay for that in dilution of her ownership. The sad thing is, I think she's actually a pretty good entrepreneur. I wish she was peddling something real that actually gave people hope and delivered on it. We desperately need more entrepreneurs solving the many problems that we have in this world, and many more investors supporting game-changing technologies. That's what I wanted to see here. Stephen and the Dragons teaming up with the best and the brightest to build solutions that offered real hope. If we celebrate false solutions and commoditize on that hope with no intention of actually delivering on it, we aren't deploying that incredibly privileged position and resource appropriately. And in fact, we are detracting attention from the real opportunities that could move the needle forward. What's sad to me is that if you visit the Acuseeds website right now, the message reads, due to unprecedented demand following Dragon's Den, we are sold out of stock. When you prey upon investors' hopes that don't know any better, you go to prison. When you prey upon customers' hopes that don't know any better, you go on Dragon's Den. Do better next time.